Hello, you are watching Over the Back Fence, a conversation with friends and neighbors. This is a production of Neighborhood Falmouth. Today we have four conversationalists: Mary Pat McKenzie, Grant Willis, Marion Bihari, Jackie Pratt, and I'm Susan Laux. So, on this episode, we are going to talk about first dates, ones that have a story to them. Something went right, something went wrong, or it could be dating in general, but first dates. So, who wants to start? Okay, Grant.
Year is about 1952. I'm living in Falmouth. The Elizabeth Theater is where the Maxwell's Clothing is now. Um, and that was the movie theater in town on Main Street. And you used to get up to the balcony by walking up the outside. There was a stairway outside. My first date was with a young lady, a couple years older than myself, uh, whose name would be, her last name would be well known around town, um, because she was here for a long time. But she kind of dragged me up these stairs, and we were going to see some Saturday afternoon matinee. Uh, so we got up there, and she insisted on sitting in the back row of the balcony. And I said, "Well, we can't see anything from there. I want to see, I want to see Two-Fisted Sheriff with Johnny Mac Brown. I came to see the movie." And she she's looking at me, and so I leaned forward on my chair, and all of a sudden this arm came around me and pulled me backwards, and she turned my head, and this tongue went into my mouth, and I was blown away. I had no idea what was that. 12 years old, huh? What? Are you trying to give me something like a piece of gum? And I couldn't figure it out. And so finally, she just gave up, and I finally got to watch my movie and the cereal. There was a Buster Crab cereal after it. Um, and I went home, and I never saw her to date again. I saw her at school a lot, and we just never talked to each other again because I had no idea what we'd done. To me, it was like just dropping a grenade in my head. But 12 years old by now, they're all married with kids. But back in those days, it was time in the balcony was pretty important.
I love that story. I mean, I think I would have been the exact same way, Grant. I would have been like, what's going on? I mean, just totally would not have clued into anything. I mean, of course, I wouldn't have been on a date either. So that
At 12, Grant, you were.
You must have been hot property.
Fast.
Tongue down my throat. That's how attractive I was. God.
Nice. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm going to tell you my first date story. So I went to a party one time, and I was wearing some bowling shoes that I had acquired improperly, and anyways, and I was kind of just like in a mood and whatever, and this guy approached me and he said, "Are those bowling shoes you're wearing?" And I said, "Yeah, they are," and blah blah blah. We got talking, and he said, "Well, we should go bowling sometime." And I said, "Yeah, for sure, let's do it." And I never dated. I mean, till I was this age, I never dated, almost not at all. I'm not good at it, super shy, super awkward, word, don't hear, the whole thing. So anyways, but we went on this date and we went bowling. And the thing with this is that I don't bowl. And so, I mean, I just, have bowled. And at that point I had bowled, but I mean, this wasn't like a pastime of mine. It was just kind of a quirky thing that I got in these bowling shoes, and that therefore became the theme of the date. So anyway, so we started bowling. Well, one of the things about me is that sometimes when I get really nervous, I start kind of overperforming. And I was really nervous because I don't date and I don't, whatever. And what happened was I started bowling like a perfect game. And I mean, I was bowling. So, I bowled the first thing and I got a strike. And I was like, oh my God, that's crazy. Because it was crazy because I don't bowl. And I mean, again, sometimes, but no. And he bowled and he got like a gutter ball. And we were like, ha ha ha, funny. And then I bowled and I got another strike. And he bowled again and he got a gutter ball. And then I bowled again and I got another strike and he bowled and he got like one pin down or something. And then it was funny, but it started getting kind of weird too. And people stopped playing on either side of us and started lining the lane where I was bowling, because then I kept bowling strikes and then eventually I bowled a spare. And people, and then I'm thinking, well, if I want a second date, maybe I should try and throw the game, but I've never, whatever. And so it was just kind of funny and strange. And we did have a second date and I did end up bowling a 205. So I don't bowl, but I guess 205 is, I mean, I don't think I've ever reached 100 other times I've bowled. So anyways, so that is a first date story for you.
Wow.
I know.
Performing.
Did he ask you out again?
What's that?
Did he ask you out again?
We did go out again. We went out for a little while, dated for, several months or something.
Did you go bowling again?
I don't think we ever went bowling again. I think actually his ego was a little dented by the whole bowling thing, which was, again, don't worry, we're never going bowling again. I don't bowl, but whatever. It was kind of fun.
What did you do with your bowling shoes?
I had them for a long time, and then I don't remember actually whatever happened to them, but I may have returned them to some bowling alley because I felt so badly that I had actually light fingered them from some bowling alley at one point. And so anyway, end of my story. Okay, first dates. Anyone else or other dates?
Silence.
Well, it's hard because, when I was a teenager, we kind of like all hung around in groups. It wasn't like there was like a date thing.
Right.
Parties in kids' houses on the weekend. And believe me, the parents were home. There was no hanky panky in any way, shape, or form. Or we all went to what we called the hops, which were dances like at the Wagwaltic Club in the summer, which was a boathouse, or the Y in the winter. So it wasn't ever like a date. So basically the first date I went on dates in college, but would probably be with Donald. And it was because, and I really remember this because he was so furious at me. I was in college. He was working in theater. He was the assistant cultural coordinator for the university. So I had, as the college paper editor, I had opted to do a review of Margot Fontaine dancing at the cultural center. And I bombed her that she was way too old. She shouldn't have still been doing ballet. Like put it in the paper because who was going to stop me? Well, he was not amused. Let me put it that way. So the previous editor of the paper, who was a friend of Donald's, arranged for us to meet because I hadn't met him. And we were all like hanging out at Student Union. There was a dance. And that was basically our first date. It was like there were Beatles impersonators and we danced. I lost my boots because, I took them off to dance and I don't know what happened to them. And then, kind of stuck.
And clearly he wasn't mad anymore.
Well, no, he got over the review stuff. Yeah. And then, but the funny thing was that then I continued, and even after I finished school and we were married, I still wrote reviews on his shows in Canadian theater because my name was different. So CBC didn't say anything about it. It was just like, don't tell anybody that you're reviewing your husband's show.
Oh, did you write accurate reviews?
Yes, I did. I was not bulldozed to like do favorable if it wasn't favorable. It was, well, you can tell because I bombed Margot Fontaine.
That was before you were married.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
That's great. Oh, I love that. I didn't know that's how you guys met.
Yeah. Yeah. Write a bad review. And the guy, like it was like, what were you thinking? Because she was, she was a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
And but she was old. It was the last year she was dancing. And now I won't go back to that because that's not fair. She's dead now, I think.
Oh, God, yeah, for sure. It should be
Yeah.
112 or something.
Yeah, exactly. We met.
Oh, I love it. So Jackie or Marion, any dating
Well-
tales to tell out of school?
Well, my first date, I met him in the lunchroom in high school. And like Mary Pat said, there was a whole big group. And we would go places together. And it just sort of happened that we, doubled up. And he and I became really good friends as well as going out together. And the first thing that really happened, which was sad, was his father died.
Hmm.
And not long after we met, and I went to the funeral, and he was so appreciative of that, that I would come and whatever. And we dated probably for 4 or 5 years. And he was really a great guy. And, we did all kinds of stuff together, but I really fond memories of him. So nothing crazy happened, but he was really, he was really a wonderful person. And I got to know him and his family just by sitting in the lunchroom and, in that little group.
Nice.
So,
Do you know what happened to him?
yes. He passed away. He had AIDS. And we kept in contact for a number of years, and then he got sick. And that was really sad for me. But he was really turned out to be a really great friend.
Nice.
You know.
That's a nice story. I like
That
that.
is a nice story.
Yeah, he was very, and it helped me learn how to be, because this was sort of my first date. It taught me how to be with the opposite sex, and that you could be friends and you could talk to each other, even though it's not, it's not your girlfriend. So he
Nice.
was, I remember him very fondly.
Nice. You're right about that kind of relationship, like needing
Right.
to learn
Yeah.
how to do that and not get so panicked or caught up in what's supposed to be happening or the
Right.
social pressure one way or the other,
Right.
any of that. Jackie, how about you?
My very first day, like many people talked about, we had a gang in our area, and we'd get on our bikes and we'd like ride. I grew up in West Boylston and very close to the reservoir, and we ride across the reservoir bridge and go into, like the 10-cent movies at the Congregational Church. Or we might go up the street where they flooded out some basements that they, in a subdivision they were building. So we would have a place to skate. We had sort of a backlot hockey league going on. And I still skate. Well, up until the point where I could no longer skate, I still skated like a hockey player. not like a ballerina, but the thing is that I it was in the 8th grade, and they had an 8th grade dance, and somehow my mother and this young fellow who was in our group's mother got together, and they decided we should go together. And my mother rushed out and bought me this beautiful Alice blue dress, sleeveless dress, and it was sheer and layers and and I was kind of a tomboy at that point in time, but I did like the dress, and I liked the feeling of being kind of all pretty and gorgeous. But at any rate, we went to this dance, and of course, my mother made all kinds of assumptions. I think she thought that maybe she could get this thorn in her side out of the house or something. I don't know what she was thinking, but the thing is that yes, he went with me, but he didn't have any money to pay for me to go, and it was a whole $1 for the dance. Luckily, I had a silver $1 in my purse for luck, supposedly, and I could pay. So, but at any rate, we that was the first, last, and only time I went out with him, and then we moved, and I never saw him again. But I remember my first date in high school. And there was this football player who was a whole year ahead of me. I was a freshman, and we went to this dance. And the thing that I remember the most about it was back then we had rollers, and we didn't have a hair dryer for whatever reason. Maybe there weren't hair dryers, I don't know, but I had all these rollers, and I was supposed to be doing yard work before this date. So I'm out in the yard with my rollers. At any rate, and it did curl enough so I was presentable going out, but I had this wonderful time, and I noticed that I was getting a lot of attention, and I loved that. I really loved that. I really had a fun time dating in high school, and it was a whole lot of fun. The thing is that I was somebody who probably would date somebody for a couple of months and then go on to greener pass it. I was a serial monogamist, but like people, I would have been horrified if somebody stuck their tongue in my mouth. I understand Grant's feeling altogether. For one thing, we were chaperoned, like, and as Mary Pat said, we were chaperoned.
Yeah.
I mean, you would really have to work on. Now, did people get together? Of course, there were a couple of pregnancies in my high school, but the thing is that was not the norm. It was, us we were well watched.
Right.
But it's, yeah, I remember at least through high school and college it being fun till the very end, and then I got married, and then actually that was fun too for a while. But the thing is that yeah, dating was fun. I remember a very awkward beginning, and
I do have there's one really weird dating story, because I was thinking about it when we were talking. My mother had remarried, and I had 2 stepsisters. One of them is like a few months younger than me. The other one's a year older. And we moved to Winchester outside Boston. And all 3 of us dated the same guy. Not at the same time. Jane dated him first. She decided she was done with him, passed Brad Joyce on to Martha. And then after Martha was done with Brad Joyce asked me out. It was like, which of course it didn't work as boyfriend, girlfriend at all, because it was like, God, aren't you like part of the family? I mean, you're just here all the time.
It's like the family discount or something.
It was like,
Oh my gosh.
let's just pass Brad around.
That's
I
funny.
don't know what happened to him.
Yeah, a couple in my girlfriend group, my sort of adult girlfriend group in our 20s. A couple of people showed up. Like one guy I dated like twice. We went to a party and he was wearing a t-shirt that said ice picks for everyone, which was like, okay, I think this relationship is coming to a very quick close. But then, some years later, in comes this guy who it's not Marcus, it's Mark, and he's an architecture student, and that's ice picks for everyone, it's so anyway. Oh my goodness. Well, this is a great topic. Thank you very much, everyone, for your stories. And you have been listening to Over the Back Fence, a conversation among neighbors, a production of Neighborhood Falmouth. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye.